As Congress prepares for new members to join their ranks, they are deciding who will be the face of each party following the midterm elections. Lisa Desjardins has the latest from Capitol Hill.
A chilly fall day in Washington brought a swarm of energetic faces, freshman members of Congress posing for a photo of what is one of the largest groups of new members in recent memory.
Thank you.
But freshman Democrats already face a test. As inside the Capitol, a fight over who will be their Speaker of the House is heating up. Nancy Pelosi, the current top Democrat, was upbeat that she will reclaim her former title.
What's your level of confidence?
High.
Most members are standing by Pelosi,
I'm a yes vote all the way through the end.
I'm convinced he will have enough.
but others are openly calling for changes in the party leadership. Representative Marcia Fudge.
I would say this, is we tout diversity in this party. There's no diversity in our leadership. I mean, if we're going to talk about it, if we're going to talk the talk, we need to walk the walk.
Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan is among those leading the Pelosi rebellion and says there are a significant number of votes against her.
We have a very talented caucus, a lot of talent, and we just got to figure out who it's going to be, if anybody. But, we're going to bring change. The people want change, and this is the establishment versus change.
House Republicans, on the other hand, saw little drama and overwhelmingly selected Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy to be their next leader.
I'm very humbled to have the privilege to be able to serve and lead this conference.
The unity in our caucus has been our strength.
Across the Capitol in the Senate, more easy wins as Democratic leader Chuck Schumer and Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell each cruised to re-election.
Thanks a lot.
One bit of unfinished business added some tension. Florida Republican Rick Scott stood with newly elected senators, even though his race with current Democratic Senator Bill Nelson is under recount.
And Lisa joins me now from Capitol Hill alongside our White House correspondent, Yamiche Alcindor. It's good to see both of you at the Capitol. We're used to seeing you apart, but there's so much to talk about. So, Lisa, let's pick up with the Democrats in the House. Nancy Pelosi's efforts to be elected Speaker. Where does that stand right now?
Well, if you ask Nancy Pelosi's team, they say that she's going to be Speaker. They point out that she does have support from a majority of House Democrats, and that's exactly what she needs when Democrats vote internally 2 weeks from now. But that's just step one in the process. Step two comes in January, Judy. That's when whoever wants to be Speaker needs to get a majority of the full House. So to do that, Nancy Pelosi would need more like 95% of her caucus to support her. She does not have that right now. In particular, 10 of the new freshmen who arrived today campaigned saying that they would vote no, would not support Nancy Pelosi. And there's another 24 who haven't said which way they would go. So there's an insurgent group of Democrats who have putting out a letter trying to get enough signatures to show that Nancy Pelosi can't cross that threshold in January. But we haven't seen the letter yet. It's not clear who their chosen candidate would be to replace her. Late today, Ohio Representative Marcia Fudge, who you heard from in our report, said she might consider running herself, but a lot of questions about that.
Well, we did hear from some of the new and the former members or longtime members just now in your report, but you've also been talking to other folks. I want to ask you what they're saying and the who. I mean, who would it be if it's not Nancy Pelosi? You just mentioned Marcia Fudge, but who else?
Well, this group of insurgents says that they would like it to be either a woman or a person of color, and that's one reason Marcia Fudge is a top candidate, because she represents both of those groups. But it's not clear who else would be in the mix. I think, Judy, a really important group to watch is this new group of freshmen. This is a tricky position for them. They campaigned on bringing fresh ideas, new blood to the Capitol, and here they are faced with a Democratic leadership team that has been in office for 10 to 15 years. Do they oppose them? Do they not? I will say this, it was interesting, Judy, meeting these new freshmen today, they are one of the most self-possessed and strong group of new members I've ever met. It's remarkable, especially because so many are first-time candidates.
That's fascinating. So, Yamiche, I'm going to turn to you now with what we heard from the president today, coming out in support of sentencing reform, criminal justice reform. They're calling it the First Step Act. We just talked to Mark Holden. We talked to Kerry Johnson about it. But I want to ask you, because you're at the Capitol, this has to pass the Senate. We know a form of it did go through the House. What's the significance now of the president putting his weight behind this?
Well, this could be the most important criminal justice overhaul of a generation, and that's a good thing for President Trump if it passes. It could show that not only is he someone who could be tough on crime while also reforming the system, but it also could show that he could sign bipartisan bills. The bill itself would do several things, including working on recidivism, also doing something, a small amount on sentencing. And President Trump, of course, talked about this law and order presidency. He talked about the fact that our country needs more police officers. His Department of Justice said that federal oversight of local police departments shouldn't be happening. So if President Trump can actually sign a bill that does something to help people get back into society after they've paid their debt to society, that shows that he's at least kind of going that extra step and allowing people to really move on after being in the criminal justice system. And it's also important to note that a lot of these laws that President Trump wants to change date back to the 90s, and they disproportionately affected African American people. That would also be helpful for President Trump if he could overhaul the system in that way.
And just quickly, Yamiche, what are you hearing about how likely it is the House and the Senate are going to be able to agree on language on this, and both houses work with the president?
I think it's going to be very, very tricky, but everyone who's involved knows that they have a very limited amount of time and that they have to get this done quickly. I've talked to several lawmakers today all across the House and the Senate, and they really were cautiously optimistic. All the Democrats that I talked to, though, were not elated. I'm talking about Senator Cory Booker, who's come out and opposing it. Senator Dick Durbin has opposed it. Civil rights activist Representative John Lewis opposes it. Acting Attorney General, or I should say former Attorney General, Eric Holder also opposes it. The New York Times editorial board opposes it. And just today, 100 civil rights groups released a letter to oppose it. Now, Sheila Jackson Lee, who's someone who also opposes it, she told me that this is really coming down to sentencing. She wants to be able to look at families and say, hey, we are doing something retroactively to help the people who were hurt in the 90s. So it's really going to be a hard sell, I think, in parts of this country and in parts of Congress.
Well, we're going to be watching it very closely. Thank you both for your reporting. Yamiche Alcindor, Lisa Desjardins. Thank you.